That way you can bring me a birthday present. Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
On the 10th of March.
Right.
Yep, just
Okay.
letting you know.
Yeah, no, I'm not extending the time out any further, so bad luck. I could just guess I'll bring you an early one.
Oh, geez, that would be great. I do need to clean up a bit, so
Well, I've
I've
already given you,
started.
I told you about this weeks ago, so what's your
Yeah, and
excuse?
I've had 2 weeks off eBay, so that's
Why?
great. I'm just being lazy. There you go, easy. Yeah, I've been lazy, but I'm getting into it today because I've done a few drafts, so I'll take some
Oh my
photos.
god, you and your bloody drafts. Have you watched the video from last week that I told you to watch?
So here's the thing, right?
Oh,
I've been really busy doing nothing, pretty much. So yeah, nah, I'll watch it tomorrow. I did watch the first and a bit of the second part.
the second one was the one that I told you to watch. Like, that's the one you need to watch. I, like, right now want to say some swear words, but then I'd only have to beep over the top of them to edit the video, so I don't want to do that either. I don't know, you do my head in. Big time. All right, so I thought we would move on from what Adam doesn't know that we talked about last week. And seeing as we were talking about all those different things, I thought we'd sort of move on to about how to work out. We talked a bit about metrics, and we often talk about that, and people don't know what we mean. And there's sort of two different types of metrics in relation to eBay. So you've got the actual, what they call on eBay, for I don't know why, service metrics. I guess they mean the service we provide to the buyer by that, but it just seems a stupid title to my mind, which, you know, tells us how we are rated in things like item not received, item not as described, and where your late postage rate sits compared to everybody else, that sort of thing, which you can get at that. You can go into the... I'm having a blank. You can go into the performance tab and right down the bottom go to service metrics, and there's all different little things you can play around with in there. Well, how do you know what your seller metrics, because that's the big term, how do you know how to find them and what they will read and what they will show you? Well, that's what I'm going to show you right now. So I'm just going to share my screen here and you can see the page. So all you need to do is go to performance tab, and you'll see down the bottom it says service metrics. Doesn't say seller metrics, it says service metrics. So you go there and you're going to find this. As you can see, there's all different things on here, and there's a big long graph, and you might sort of look at it and see that big red line there and think, oh my goodness, what is that? But essentially, have a look down and find where you are. Well, I'm right down the bottom here, and this is based on, if you actually have a look at this, it says items not as described return. See how you compare with your peers. But be aware that this is in categories. So this shows what that is for me in books, comics, and magazines. So I'm right down the bottom because I obviously haven't had any items not as described returned in that category. You can also, if you have a look up here, where I'm swinging around the little mouse, it says item not received. So you can actually swing over there and it'll tell you where you are for the same thing, but with items not received. On this tab, there's a couple of interesting things. So you can see I'm right down the bottom here. The average is up here. My peers are up here. Now, when you have to start really worrying is if you start creeping up above the average line. So if you are up here somewhere above the line, that's when you might start getting a little smack on the hand from eBay, and you might notice that they might want to, give you some little punishments, I suppose. Stick you in the corner and make you, wait out a while. But the thing that I wanted to show you here is because this is actually showing us what that is for domestic shipping. Now, if you do international shipping, what do you do then? Well, there's a tab here in the middle. It says domestic. And if you actually click on that and go down here, you'll see there's actually three things. There's international, emerging region, and then there's international, matured region. Now, I imagine the emerging region is going to be, which I have said 7 things to, places that, they're not quite sure about whether they're going to get there or not, or they're not very developed nations. But if you go to the matured regions, which are going to be places like the US and stuff, you'll see here there's nothing in place here yet, but I think it'll come. So I just thought I'd show you that that's where you'll find it. So I'm just going to swap over now. So we're in here. Oh, we've got to go back to item not as described. And as I said, now we're over to clothing, shoes, and accessories. Now, Now, what category will be in there to start with is going to be the category that you probably have the most transactions, right? So I've got 527 transactions here, whereas I think if I have a look here, the books category for me is about 413. So even though I make more money on the books, I don't sell quite as many. So again, you'll see here, I'm down the bottom here, and my peers are at 0.34%. So you wouldn't want to get over that. Now, what sort of things are they looking at? Well, they're looking at missing parts or pieces, if it arrived damaged, something that's not working or defective, wrong item, doesn't match the description or the photos, or not authentic. So there's all sorts of little things, but I just thought you might need to know where to find the information. So go in there and have a look around and just see where you're sitting on your metrics. And if you do start to get some returns, you'll see there'll be a circle here that will start to grow. I can't show you one because I haven't got any. Isn't that funny? But the other, which I think is more important when it comes to metrics, is how you work out and what things to take into account to work out where your bottom line is and where your top line is. Adam, did you send me this offer before I even bother going into it?
Sorry?
Adam,
No.
did you send me this offer before I go into it?
No, I haven't sent any offers lately.
Oh, sure. I'll go and have a look. No, you didn't. Okay, it's from Queensland. All right. It was just an offer for $5 and I thought, hello, Adam's up to his usual mischief. Yeah, so this is a video I made when I was doing, like, for my nuggets, and I just thought to myself, like, I'm going to sit here and try and explain it all again. Whereas I've actually already made a video about it. So if everyone can make sure they're in watching the video, I'm going to play it now. And you can all have the joy of watching a few minutes of me explaining, or attempting to explain, without confusing everyone, how to work out your own personal metrics for, your selling metrics. Someone asked me the other day how I worked out the metrics for my reselling business. And it's really, really complicated to get down to syntax as to how I arrived at my figures. But I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of how I did arrive at my figures, the things that I took into consideration to work it out. So to start with, I kind of worked out roughly how much money I would want to be making an hour. And I think I'm actually worth quite a lot of money. No. So, look, one of the main things I wanted to work out was how much profit I needed to make off each item to make the amount of money that I wanted to make each day. And I wanted to make $200 a day, right? And then build on that. Once I hit that target, then I wanted to increase that again. So there's a couple of things to take into consideration when you are talking about metrics, which, it's really confusing because you can take in the revenue you get, the sales volume you get. You also need to take in the amount of time an item takes, because you can list it and say that you're going to make $10 profit off it, but that might not sell for 200 days. It might take 10 days. You don't know. So there's all those things. So it's your inventory turnover, the amount of days it takes to sell that inventory. And when you're doing books like I do, the vintage ones, sometimes they can take that little bit longer. So that's some of the things. But look, in the end, when I went through a lot of those things, I worked out that I really needed to time myself doing the things that I do, because I actually needed, when I was listing, I needed to list enough stuff to make $60 profit an hour when I was listing. For the hours that I spend listing, I needed to make $60 profit an hour. So I actually timed myself doing all different things. And to do that, I would just record myself on the iPad. I used my iPad to do it. It was the easiest way to do it for several times. Like, it's no good just timing yourself doing something once, because that's not going to give you the right figure. You need to do it several times. So in a nutshell, I worked out on average, photos take me 3 minutes, and that's, I can do a book a lot quicker, but some articles of clothing take a bit longer depending how fussy they are. Then to actually do the computer listing, and I'm talking about entering all the details on the computer and loading the photos on, that's another 2 minutes. Sometimes I actually do have to do a bit of price comping if it's something a bit different, or I might just want to do a quick price check, so I allow another minute for that. And then the preparation time of the item before I even start doing any of that is around about 2 minutes an item. So that came to 9 minutes. And so I worked out then, if I rounded that up to 10, just to make it easier, that meant that in order to get my $60 profit an hour, so it worked out I could list 6 items in 1 hour. So that meant that I needed to make a minimum profit of $10 on anything that I listed. Preferably $20 would be the ideal place. But I have to allow that some things are only going to sell for a profit of $10. Something I'm going to, take an offer under that, which means I might only make $15 or $17. So that's essentially how I roughly worked it out. But yeah, you really need, there's so many things you do need to take into consideration when you're doing this. And I'm listing between 10 and 15 items a day, and I want each thing to generate a profit of $10 up to preferably 20 or over. But sometimes I'll take offers, which will mean that it will come in underneath that. So I hope I haven't confused you too much. It sounds all gobbledygook, doesn't it, really? Be for my store was a huge turning point for me in growing my business and working out how I wanted to run it. I had a couple of days where I'd hardly made any sales, and they were really low profit sales. And that way I thought to myself, you're an idiot. 2 pens, and they're identical in every way. Let's just say they both cost $5, right? This one is comping on eBay for $10. So, it's not even worth listing, honestly. But let's just say, for the sake of example, I'm going to make $1 out of that. This one, though, is comping for $50. Now, in all honesty, it's going to take me exactly the same time and exactly the same effort to list those two. And today, I'm going to talk to you about line-by-line accounting, because it's kind of a bit surprising to me that a lot of people don't actually know how much profit they're actually making off each item that they sell. They kind of have a guess in their brain, or they think they know, but do you really know that you're making a profit when you sell something? And especially at the beginning, if you are a new seller, a new reseller, it's really important that you know. And even if you are a seasoned seller, in my opinion, it's a great idea to go back and do a refresh, and whether that's the first couple of days of every month, go and do a few lots of line-by-line accounting with your items and run them through the spreadsheet, just to make sure that you are actually making some money. Because what's the point of reselling, whether it's a side hustle or you're doing it full time, if you're not actually making a profit? So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to pause this and I'm going to share my screen. Right. Here we are. Now, this is just a basic spreadsheet that I've been using for some time to do my line-by-line accounting. And if anyone hasn't got something like this and doesn't know how to do one, I'm actually going to drop this in my Discord channel in the documents section, a blank version, and hopefully everything works the way it's supposed to work, but it'll just give you something to get started with until you get to the point where you need something more. I will actually be doing a review of a couple of the reseller spreadsheets that you can purchase in the coming weeks. One of those is Chris Furlong and Ethan Rushock's reseller spreadsheet, and then the other is Brad's from Two Aussie Thrifters, his reselling spreadsheet. And they're both quite different and do things in a different way. So you'll be able to work out by, having it. I'll just do a quick review and let you know how they work, and you'll be able to decide which one you would like to get. But for now, we're just going to be worrying about my reseller spreadsheet here, which is just a basic spreadsheet, basically. So here we are. We are in here. And this is basic. There's not a lot of, headings and things like that. So I'm just going to run through how it works, because you need to know how much money you receive from an item when you sell it and how much money gets taken out of that item to pay for the cost of selling it. And that will then give you a profit amount. Now, this, of course, does not take into account your other ongoing expenses like power, phone, what else can I think of? Your petrol, all those sorts of things. This is just a basic line by line on your actual items to show you, to see that you're actually making a profit. So the first one we're going to look at here is the first entry for the 1st of January. And these are just some of the things that I like to know. You may not want something so specific, but I'll explain what I do. I have my sheets set up so that I enter in the day that this is sold, the item is sold. I then also add in the next column, I add in the day that I listed it. And then this will automatically calculate the amount of days it took to sell, because I want to know how long it took to sell. Is it a worthwhile thing to have again? Also, up the top here, this is actually an average, because I like to know what the average amount of days over the whole lot that it takes for me to sell an item. And that's just a quick metric I like to see in my head. The next column is for a description of the item. And I just cut and paste that out of eBay or Depop, depending which one it has sold from. Column F is for my authors. Now, that's something that not everyone wants to do, but as a bookseller, I later on do like to, a couple of times a year, go through and make up another formula that will actually grab out all of those, put them all together, and tell me how many times that particular author sold, so then I can work out which are the ones that are worthwhile getting and which ones are not. So that's just, you may not necessarily need that column, but that's one that I do. The next column, which is column G, is for the category. These are my categories. So I like to know how my specific categories that I do, how they're performing against each other. So I have something further on that actually calculates all that, but we'll deal with that another day. But this one is just gives me some basic categories of the things that I sell, which are jeans. You'll see there jeans, books, men's clothing, women's clothing, books, hats, toys. So that's what's been sold in the few days that I've been at these entries that I've put in. Column H is source. Now, again, this is another one that's personal to me. Not everyone wants to know this, but for me, I want to know different op shops, but this will just tell me that I bought it in Judda, so whether it's worthwhile me going back there again. The next column over is probably getting back to your more basic stuff that you need to know when you're doing your line-by-line accounting, which is your COG or COG, which, boys and girls, for those of you that are new, is your cost of goods. So that's what you paid for it. So I put in my cost of goods. In this instance, the jeans that we're looking at the moment cost $3.70. And then I want to know how much money in the individual things. Now, I have mine set up so that when I'm inputting this straight from either eBay or Depop, rather than having to pre-calculate it in my head and work things out, I want to just quickly be able to put the data in. So I have this set up so that that's how this works. So it puts in how much I got for the item, which was $15. The postage I received was $11.50. Was there a discount applied that has to come off, like a voucher? In this case, no. And how much total revenue was there? So $26.50. Then the next couple of sections are for the fees. So we've got our transaction fee, which is our normal fee that we pay, which is $3.80 in this case. And then the ad fee is for the promoted listing fee on eBay or the boosted fee on Depop. So that goes into there. It gives us a total of what the fees were. And then it actually over here gives me a percentage. And that's just, again, for my own looky-loo so that I can look at straight away. I don't have to sort of, work out whether I'm paying too much for fees. And that sort of helps when you're working out how much you do want to promote your items or if you do it all. And so in this instance, it's 13% of what I received. Over here in the next column, that automatically calculates, and so do the eBay fees automatically calculate. In the postage, I put in how much the postage has actually cost me. So in this instance, it cost $8.59 for this parcel for me to post it. And I also put in how much each of my bubble mailers cost, because that's a fairly decent expense that you have to pay. And then we have the revenue column and the expenses column, which both automatically calculate based on the previous information that we've put in. So for these jeans, we received $26.50 in revenue, and it cost us $17.15 all in total to sell this item, which means we've come away with a profit of $9.35, which is just under my metric, but that's okay. So I like to actually have at least $10 or more profit on each item that I sell. Now, $9.35 is just under there a little bit, so it's not too bad. But, $10 is what I aim for. Now, we're going to go now and have a look at the next one. So we'll just have a look at a couple of them so you can see. So this one is a book. It's sold on the 1st of January. I listed it on the 25th of December, so it only took 7 days to sell, which is good. Not surprising because it was a history book, a vintage one, 1977, about the Rome and Byzantium times. I've got the author there. I've got that it's books. This one was actually from my death pile, which is why it says stock, because that was stock from the previous year. And so therefore it's $1 cost of goods. So I received a total of $26.38 plus $11.50 post. However, this buyer did use the 12% coupon that I've got on eBay, so it has to take away $3.17. Therefore, the amount we received for this book is $34.71. I had to pay $4.87 transaction fees and $1.72 ad fees. The problem with eBay is that there are different fees for different categories, so it's actually quite hard to work out. Depop, on the other hand, well, it's pretty easy because it's a straight 10%, and that is so good. Like, it makes it much easier. But anyhow, let's get back to the one that we're looking at. So this just tells me in a percentage what I'm paying in fees, and that's just easy, looky-loo, you can look straight away and see whether you're paying too much in eBay fees in a particular category because you've got them promoted more, or is it because that the fees on that category are more? And yeah, you can work it out that way. The next column is for postage, so how much it actually cost me, as I said. So in this instance, I had to post to a rural area, so it cost me $10.07. And again, my packaging. So the total revenue was $34.71 less the $18.72, which gives me $15.99 profit, which, yeah, I like that. All right, the next one, we're going to go down and have a look at this one down here. So this one was on the 1st of January. I listed it on the 29th of December. So it only been listed on Depop, because this is a Depop sale, for 3 days. It was a Nautica men's long sleeve blue button-up shirt, pretty basic stripy looking check thing. You know, nothing special about it. It was a 2XL. And you'll see here, this column here has got the D in it, and that's for Depop, if you haven't already worked that out. And so this one is in the men's clothing section here. And I bought this one a long time ago from the Look First op shop in Donald here. So it only cost me $3. Now, with this one, the buyer actually messaged me and asked me, I had it listed for around $17, $18, I think, plus post, because I had it running with a discount on it. And the buyer messaged me and asked me, would I take a total of $20, including post, which meant that the shirt was only going to be $9. And that's well below what I like to get. But then I had to stop and think, I've had this shirt for a really long time. I had it listed on eBay for ages, and I'm going to say probably 12 months, a good 12 months, and it didn't sell. And even though it sold really quickly on Depop, you know, that particular item I've had for a long time. So I decided in the end to actually accept it. Now, normally with something like that, I would actually enter the details into this spreadsheet so that I can actually see, is it going to give me a profit at least? I didn't in this instance, but because I thought I just needed to get rid of it. And so I was a bit nervous entering the figures for this one in. But as you can see, because there was no boosting or discount on there, we received $20 for the item, straight 10% transaction fee from Depop, which was $2. This item wasn't boosted, so there were no other fees. And I paid $8.59 in postage. So luckily for me, it was a Metro sale. So in the end, I made $5.35 on this sale. Now, it would have been a bit of a difference, and I'll just put this in so you can see. If I had have posted this item to a rural area, it would have cost me $10.07, and therefore I would have been only just coming out with $3.87. So that's just something to keep an eye on too, because you know, regardless of what band you're on, it costs you more to send something rural than it does to send it to what they call a metro area. So just something to keep an eye on. So yeah, so that's basic line by line accounting. And there are, well, you can sort of see a peek over here, other things I have in my spreadsheet, but I do not want to have this video go for too long and confuse you with lots of facts and figures. So that is just basic line by line accounting. Right, so that's about the basis of what I wanted to talk about. I had intended in going and having a look at Matt's new, what's it called? Flip Edit or something. And I presume it's basically the same as Flipwise, but an Australian version. I haven't actually had a look at it. Has anyone actually looked at the pricing or anything like that to see what it's like?
I haven't, but from what I've heard, it doesn't import straight from eBay.
It doesn't? Well, what's the point?
Well, that's what I thought from what I read. I'm not sure if that's correct or not.
But what maybe? I don't know. Maybe that was an earlier version when they were testing it.
From the I'm not sure what thread in Discord it was talked about.
General chat.
It was in general chat. Yeah, you have to data entry all the information yourself. It doesn't come straight from eBay. Which, while it looks really good, it's not really any different to having your own Excel spreadsheet. So if you've got, and I can't remember who made the point, but if you've got hundreds or even thousands of items, that's going to take a really long time to enter all that information into. So it may be just good for people just starting out and not so much people that are established.
I mean, that was a point that I made about Flipwise as well. Like the same thing, even for it, I thought it was, you know, perhaps more of a thing that would be more beneficial for beginners as opposed to seasoned.
Yeah, well, if you're selling a lot, it doesn't take into account GST or anything like that in Flipwise. And it certainly doesn't do your Oz Post. Something to do with flipped, I think.
Oh, maybe it's flipped it. Is that it?
It's flipped it. Double P.
Yep, I've got it. Thank you. No, that's not it. That connecting sellers and bulk buyers with wholesale. Right, this game quiet on that.
Vercillion, put it up. Vercillion, put it up.
Oh, so there's...
Australian.
Okay. Is that in the general chat?
Yep. So if you get to that, you'll find it.
I mean, I was sort of more curious. There, flipped it. Oh, I see, flipped it, but it's link. I was a bit curious more on the pricing aspect of things, given that Flipwise is tad expensive.
From memory, it was $8 per month, and if you paid for a full year, it was $80.
Radio, okay.
Yeah, I think that's for the first 1,000 people.
Well, it had, so it's got $10 a month crossed out and then $8 a month. Because it did say on the video I watched this morning, which was the new one they'd put out about the girlfriend's store, that they were releasing it at that lower price just for a short period.
I find it so hard to watch his stuff. I tend to turn it off about 1 minute in.
Yeah. Look, I don't watch it, and I haven't watched anything about the girlfriend's store either until today, but I primarily watched it because I just wanted to see, what they were doing and, how much of it she was doing herself. And I know the idea is he's trying to promote himself as being a coach. I'm guessing that's a lot of his idea, but I'm just going to.
I read the thing. You don't have to make profit, and I thought, hang on a minute, that doesn't work.
Well, yeah, I guess his my take on what he was saying this morning was because she's got X amount of dollars of stock, then that sort of offset profit. I mean, the pricing.
Yeah, he's looking at it as a cash position.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, price wise per month, it's certainly a far more affordable option, and I guess it's cheap if it doesn't scrape and get the information, but then who wants to be entering that in manually?
Yeah, but it might be expensive to get the API link.
Maybe.
API is free.
It's free, isn't it? I was going to ask you, Adam.
Yeah.
That.
But would eBay give it freely?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's free.
I don't know anything about it. It's
All right.
what it's got. A link to the Australia Post has it.